Good morning, everyone. We've got something special cooking for you. I don't know if you recognize where I am, but before that, I've had a huge question that has been coming up, and it is from you guys. It is, why don't I shoot Canon? Well, Canon. Okay, why don't I shoot Canon? Great question, and for that, we're gonna answer it, but I gotta introduce you to someone we haven't seen in a long time. Are you ready? Welcome, Mr. Alex.
Welcome to my van. This is the Canon only van.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, goodbye then.
No, come back. Did you tell them?
About what?
About the sponsor.
Oh, this video is sponsored by Storyblocks.
Thank you, Storyblocks. We'll talk about you in a little bit. Okay, Alex, we're going on a trip. No one knows about it. It's top secret. Is that all your gear?
A lot of it's hidden away, but this is the majority of my gear, yes.
Okay, so you're majority Canon. A lot of people have been asking me why I don't shoot Canon. And I think that's a really good question because I think Canon does good cameras. But here, guys, let me tell you something. I actually started shooting with a Canon camera. I don't know if you know that, Alex, but my first camera was actually a Canon Rebel, one of those 450D that you have in France, and I absolutely loved it. I traveled a lot with it. I shot in many places and it was great. But there was one problem. When I decided to go pro, it wasn't enough for what I wanted to do. I kind of felt that I had maxed out the camera. So I moved to a Canon 5D Mark II. Alex, did you have a 5D Mark II?
I didn't. I had a 6D Mark II and a 5D Mark IV. That was my first pro camera. But then that quickly got outdated.
Yes. So I was on that 5D Mark II and I was like, I'm shooting weddings, and the big problem when you're shooting wedding is that low light capability, right? And shooting portraits. So I was like, how am I gonna get over that? And we're gonna show you the gear we're taking for that trip in just a second. But how am I gonna get over that before I start investing in expensive lenses? My first one was gonna be the 70-200 2.8 and the 16-35 2.8, and I didn't want to honestly spend that much money if I had to change actually gear at one point. So what did I do? I moved to
Japan!
Almost Nikon. I actually sold my Canon 5D Mark II and I bought a Nikon D750 because at the time, guys, I don't know if you remember, but the D750 was incredible. Beautiful sensor, super high dynamic range.
It still is incredible.
It's still great for photography. We'll talk about the video in just a minute, but I absolutely rocked it. I invested all my money that I earned through my first shoots in it because I was shooting for free for a while. Then I started to get paid and I made a little bit of that money, put it in there. Nikon for a long time. Now, you know what the huge problem was in shooting Nikon? Bro,
what?
I felt so lonely somehow because it's not that popular, I don't know why, in the wedding photography, at least in my world in France. And I was like, oh my god, do I have to switch back? Actually, I decided, no, I'm gonna stick to my gear. I'm gonna be super happy with it. I rented a few lenses. I had great lenses. Now, one day, we decided to move to New York City, and I actually, Alex, I don't know if I told you that, I abandoned the wedding photography, I abandoned the portrait photography, I abandoned everything, focused on a different project, and I started to get into travel photography. I was like, let's make it happen. And I started getting into YouTube, and that did really badly at the beginning. I didn't know what I was doing. I had 50 views on a video, or maybe 13 views. I still remember those times. And my Nikon D750 was a horrible camera to film with. The focus is horrible. It's great for photography, but dude, do not try to film with those Nikon D750. It doesn't really work, especially if you don't know what you're doing at the beginning. Before I tell you how everything came in place, I just want you to run us through what you brought for the trip, because we're gonna hit some epic spots in the peninsula behind Seattle and all that, and I can tell you it's gonna be great. Alex, what did you bring?
So I've got my trusty 1DX Mark II, mostly because it's durable and it protects me from myself.
This is where Sony comes into place because of that guy.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks to that guy.
But it's becoming dated. I'm kind of feeling like Pierre was feeling with his Nikon. I'm kind of feeling like everyone's moving to Sony. I'm kind of feeling left behind. So I made the obvious choice, right, to move to Lumix instead of jumping to Sony. So I've had this mirrorless S5, which is a great hybrid. It's a good comparison to the A7 III. Yeah. And it's been amazing. Lumix is really known for their video capabilities, and that's what I really needed. And
how was your photos so far?
The photos are really great on this.
Really?
It's a 24 megapixel full frame, and it's same size as these Sony bodies.
Nice.
So it's a really good alternative if people are kind of trying to decide between bodies. It's actually just a new option. I think a lot of people look at Lumix and they're like, oh, I don't want to shoot video, but this is really cool. It shoots
Did you bring
really
a
great
drone
photos.
also for the trip?
I did, yeah. It's buried somewhere.
Just a quick note, guys, and this is where it's so important. Let's say maybe you forgot your drone, you're going on an epic trip. Oh, my head. And well, the big problem is that you can't take all the gear in the world with you. This is where a solution like Storyblocks comes into place. It is a one-stop shop solution for millions of assets that you can use into your videos. We're talking stock footage, audio, images, templates. And one of the projects I did, one of the video recently in Miami, for example, Alex, I actually forgot the drone, and then we got some drone footage on Storyblocks from Miami and a few B-rolls of Miami, and we could put it in there because I didn't get the chance really to shoot. I was on holiday. So being able to use those assets to tie your stories together, whether it's clips or whether it's photos, is where it becomes so important in my opinion. Have you ever used stock footage? So even Alex, check out his stuff. It looks really good. Those stock footages are really important when you want to tie stories together. So whether you are looking for stock footage, stock images, stock audio, or templates for your next project, Storyblocks has it, and it is very affordable. They have a subscription that allows unlimited downloads. So guys, please check it out. Go to storyblocks.com/Pierre or hit the link in the description. You will find everything you need for your next project. Even though because of COVID you can't travel and you might be stuck at home, nothing is impossible. I think you did a project without traveling. That looked like you traveled everywhere. I mean, he did travel a little bit, but there were parts where I was like, oh, that's interesting.
That's the most useful thing, is if you can't go to Japan, you can get Japan footage. Or if you're missing a beautiful sunset right now, you can go get sunset clips.
That's also a good point. Okay, so
these are my trusty Sigma Primes, 24-1.4 and a 50. I have an adapter on here right
50-1.4. I'm on a 1635 here, 2.8. I have the 14-1.8 that just came out, and the reason I moved to Sony, here we go, we're gonna get there, and why I'm not shooting Canon, and I really considered Canon for a long time, because I wanted a camera that would allow me to shoot video and photo at the same time. The most important when you're starting something new is you don't want to get too boggled down by the gear. And when I was on the world tour with my wife, this is huge, you know? If you want to vlog with that, if you want to capture your adventures, just like I'm doing with that Sony right now, that gets really heavy. It's a really good workout. I mean, look at Alex's huge arms, you know? Oh yeah. At the time, all the creators had that camera, and so I kind of felt like, oh my god, I kind of need that camera. But honestly, at the same time, the A7R3 came out, and the A7R3 is a camera that changed the game, because Sony until then had tiny batteries and you need to swap them all the time. That was driving me crazy. I was like, I can't go with the Mark II. The Mark III came out. Oop, we lost the screw. And I was like, yes, let's get it. That's how I got started with Sony. I got hooked onto it. I started making videos, started the photography channels. Actually started my first video on that kind of blew up on the photography channel was about me saying what was wrong with the R3 because there were a few things that got tweaked over time that were really problematic, and this battery never dies, almost. Except when you go shoot with Alex and it comes
Look
half
at the
empty,
size of it
half
compared
full.
to the body there.
Look at that. This is the size of the... Honestly, you can't go wrong with either choice. Actually, I want to know, what would be your advice nowadays? Someone is right there looking and be like, Canon, Sony, Nikon, Panasonic, what should I do?
Honestly, like, so...
Get closer to him.
So there's two things I would suggest. So we live in a time where there's a new camera released every 2-3 months. So I wouldn't actually pay attention to any of the new releases. I would actually look back. It's a great time to get stuff that people are dumping in order to get the new gear. For example, this camera. We've kind of talked a little bit about the downsides of it, but I think it's still one of the best cameras out there, especially if you're a hybrid shooter. There's a reason why I still use this. There's a reason why a lot of top creators used it as their main camera in the past and still use it as their main camera. A lot of people are trying to dump these, especially since the Mark III is out, and especially since a lot of the new mirrorlesses are coming out.
R5 or 6.
So there's limitations, but you can still shoot 4K, no problems with overheating or anything. It's a big body, it can handle a lot of heat. They're workhorses. I would suggest that you look kind of in the used market, see what's out there, see what kind of like high-end gear that people are dumping to get some of this newer stuff. That's
the best advice in the world, guys. So let us know in the comments, what brand are you shooting the most with? Are you shooting with Canon? Are you a Nikon shooter? Are you a Sony shooter? I'm kind of super interested to know. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Like Alex said, try to find great lenses that are getting on the second-hand market for like half the price. And most importantly, just grind your gear until it's destroyed. You know, his gear doesn't look destroyed yet, so I think you can do a better job, Alex. Maybe I'll drop it a few times for you.
You make the mistake of thinking this is the only body I've had.
Oh shoot, no. Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's for another episode.
This one I've already sent in too. I've only had this for 6 months.
As you can tell, we've got a really cool setup right here, and some great adventures are gonna come on. Subscribe. Make sure you see us in the next one, and let's go shoot some epic stuff.
Now get out of my van, please. Get out.